Have you ever wished you could look at someone and instantly know what they're really thinking, even if they never say a word? Imagine the power of understanding people so deeply that their unspoken truths become clear to you. Most people walk through life blind to these hidden signals. They hear words but miss the emotions. They see faces but ignore the micro-expressions. They feel energy but dismiss it as coincidence. Yet the truth is, every single person you meet is constantly revealing who they are. The way they breathe, the way they move their eyes, the pauses in their sentences, even the silence between their words. Everything is a message, and once you learn how to read it, you hold an invisible key that opens doors most people never even notice. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about controlling anyone. It's about awareness. It's about developing a level of emotional intelligence so sharp that you can connect with others in a way that feels almost magical. Think about it. When you truly understand people, you gain trust faster. You build deeper relationships. You avoid being misled. And you discover strength in your ability to see through the surface and connect with what is real. People crave to be understood, yet so few actually feel understood. That's why, when you develop this ability, others will naturally be drawn to you. They won't even know why. They'll just feel it. Because when someone senses that you see them, not just their words but their truth, it's unforgettable. It creates respect, it builds influence, and it empowers you to move through life with confidence. The reason you're here, listening now, is because some part of you already knows the value of this skill. Maybe you've felt misunderstood. Maybe you've trusted someone who turned out to be dishonest. Maybe you've struggled to connect with people who matter to you. Deep down, you know there's more to human connection than what's on the surface. And you're right, there is. Psychology has shown us again and again that humans leak signals. Tiny, invisible cues reveal if someone is nervous, confident, hiding something, or speaking with sincerity. The average person misses them because they're too distracted, too busy, or too unaware. But once you train your mind to notice, it becomes second nature. It's like learning a language that was always being spoken around you, but you never understood until now. So why should you stay with me until the very end? Because what you're about to unlock will not only change the way you see others, it will change the way you see yourself. This skill is more than a tool. It's a transformation. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your relationships, and gives you the quiet confidence of someone who knows what's really happening beneath the surface. It's a superpower that doesn't fade because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Stay present. Open your mind. By the time we're done, you'll never look at people the same way again. And that's not just a promise. It's the beginning of a new way of living. Every person you meet is constantly broadcasting who they are, but the signals are quiet, almost invisible, and most people never learn to notice them. The truth is that human beings are wired to communicate far beyond words. Long before language existed, our survival depended on reading each other's expressions, movements, and energy. That ancient instinct is still inside you, waiting to be awakened, waiting to sharpen into a skill that can guide you through every relationship, every opportunity, every challenge you face. The eyes are often the first doorway. They move faster than words, revealing emotions that the mouth tries to hide. A flicker of discomfort, a glance to the side, a microsecond of hesitation, all of it means something. When you pay attention to those details, you stop guessing and start understanding. And when you understand, you gain power, not over people, but over the uncertainty that usually clouds human connection. Imagine never second-guessing if someone is being honest with you. Imagine knowing if their enthusiasm is genuine or forced. That kind of clarity is life-changing. But it doesn't stop with the eyes. The body is an entire language of its own. Crossed arms, shifting weight, tapping fingers, a chest that expands with pride or caves in with insecurity. These are the signals of truth. They tell you when someone is open, when they're defensive, when they're confident, or when they're hiding. Most ignore them because they seem small. But small doesn't mean unimportant. In fact, the smallest details are often the loudest, if you know how to listen. And then there's the voice. Not just the words, but the tone, the pace, the pauses. A voice that tightens when someone lies. A rhythm that softens when they care. Silence that stretches just a second too long when they don't want to reveal something. These are not accidents. They are patterns. And patterns always reveal truth. The more aware you become, the more those truths rise to the surface, like hidden ink becoming clear in the light. This is not about suspicion. It's about awareness. When you learn to read people, you don't just protect yourself, you also connect more deeply. You notice when someone feels anxious even though they smile. You sense when someone is overwhelmed even though they say they're fine. And when you recognize it, you respond with empathy, strength, and understanding. That is how trust is built, not by guessing, but by truly seeing. Think about what this means for your life. In your relationships, it means no more confusion about where you stand. In your career, it means recognizing opportunities and dangers before others do. In your personal growth, it means cultivating the presence of someone who cannot be easily fooled, shaken, or ignored. That presence commands respect, it inspires confidence, and it quietly influences the world around you without needing to force anything. Every moment you spend learning this skill is a step closer to becoming someone others admire, trust, and follow. Because while most people are distracted by the noise of words, you'll be tuned into the truth behind them. That is where real power lives, not in controlling others, but in understanding them so well that you move through life with clarity and certainty. And once you have tasted that clarity, you will never again accept the fog of uncertainty that once held you back. The ability to read people begins with sharpening your own awareness, because you cannot see clearly in others what you refuse to notice in yourself. Every judgment you make about another person passes through the filter of your own state of mind. If that filter is clouded by distraction, fear, or ego, you will miss the truth. But when you learn to quiet your own inner noise, you notice more, you sense more, and you understand more. It starts with presence. When you are fully present in a moment, every movement, every word, every expression becomes amplified. What others overlook becomes obvious to you, simply because you are paying attention. Presence is not complicated. It is the practice of slowing down, grounding yourself, and observing without rushing to interpret. Most people listen only to respond, not to understand. They are already planning their next words, already caught in their own minds, already blind to what is right in front of them. But you are different. You are training your mind to see with clarity, to notice the cracks between words, to read what is hidden in plain sight. That is what separates the aware from the unaware, the influential from the invisible. The secret lies in shifting from assumption to observation. Instead of assuming what someone means, you observe how they say it. Instead of guessing their mood, you watch their body, you hear their tone, you feel their energy. The human brain is a mirror, wired to pick up on subtle emotional signals without conscious effort. But only those who train themselves to trust that awareness actually use it. You've experienced moments where you felt something was off, even if you couldn't explain why. That was your intuition reading signals, your conscious mind ignored. The difference now is that you will stop dismissing those signals. You will start honoring them. When you begin to value awareness, you unlock a deeper confidence. No longer do you rely only on words, because you know words can deceive. You rely on alignment, whether words, body, and energy match. When they do, there is truth. When they don't, there is a story being hidden. And the moment you see this, you step into a level of clarity most people never reach. This clarity changes how you show up in the world. You listen with greater patience. You respond with greater precision. You lead with greater strength. Because when you can see beyond the mask, you no longer feel threatened by it. You don't react impulsively. You don't let others control your emotions. Instead, you move from a place of calm power, where every choice you make is informed by what is real, not just what is said. That kind of awareness is rare, and rare always carries value. It makes you unforgettable, it makes you magnetic, it makes you someone others look to for guidance without even knowing why. And the reason is simple: people trust those who truly see them. Not the version they present, but the truth that exists underneath. When you give that kind of understanding to others, you give them something they crave but rarely receive. In return, they give you loyalty, respect, and connection that lasts. This is why learning to read people is not just a skill, it is a transformation of your presence. It turns you into someone who cannot be ignored, because clarity is power, and power quietly changes everything around it. The deeper you go into this awareness, the more you realize that people reveal themselves not just in what they do, but in what they try to hide. Every mask has cracks. Every act of control slips in small ways. The hand that trembles slightly when someone pretends to be confident, the forced smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the shoulders that sink when someone insists they are fine. These are not accidents. They are the body speaking truth when the mind refuses to. And when you learn to notice them, you step into a level of understanding that feels almost like unlocking a hidden code of human behavior. This ability is not about exposing people, it is about seeing them fully. Because the truth is, everyone is carrying something: wounds, doubts, fears, insecurities, and most people go through life feeling like no one notices. When you become the person who does notice, who sees what others miss, you give people a gift they will never forget. You give them the experience of being understood without having to explain. That is the deepest form of connection. That is what creates trust, loyalty, and influence that words alone could never build. Psychologists have long known that authenticity cannot be faked for long. Sooner or later, the real emotion leaks through, whether in tone, posture, or micro-expression. But while most remain blind to it, you train yourself to see it, to feel it, to respond to it with intention. This doesn't make you manipulative. It makes you powerful in the most honest way possible. Because the person who sees reality as it is will always be stronger than the person lost in illusions. Think about what this means for your future. When you walk into a room, you no longer feel uncertain about how people perceive you. You already know because you can read the cues. When someone speaks, you are not distracted by the surface. You are tuned into the layers beneath. When you are making decisions, you rely not only on logic, but on awareness that cuts through deception and confusion. That combination of clarity and confidence sets you apart instantly. People may not know why, but they will feel it. They will sense that you are grounded, sharp, and impossible to mislead. This mastery doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. Suddenly, you trust your instincts more. You respect your awareness. You no longer dismiss that inner voice that tells you something is off. And with each moment you choose to trust it, you grow stronger, more certain, more unshakable. That strength radiates. It shows in your posture, in your tone, in your presence. It makes you a leader even when you don't try to be, because true leadership comes from clarity, and clarity is what you are building with every breath. Understand this: most people live in a fog. They drift through conversations half aware, they take words at face value. They miss the signals that reveal reality. But not you. You are choosing to rise above that fog, to see the truth, to live with the kind of awareness that makes life sharper, deeper, and more meaningful. That choice will separate you from the ordinary. That choice will make you extraordinary. The moment you choose awareness, you awaken a strength that most people will never touch. Because awareness is not passive, it is power in motion. It sharpens your perception, it deepens your presence, and it elevates the way you move through life. When you can see beyond appearances, you stop being reactive. You stop being a victim of confusion. You stop being manipulated by the surface. Instead, you step into control, not of others, but of yourself. That control is the foundation of influence, because people instinctively follow the one who cannot be fooled. Human connection is built on signals most overlook: the nervous laugh when someone hides anxiety, the slight tightening of the jaw when anger rises, the way someone leans in when they trust you, or pulls away when they don't. These are the codes of truth, and once you learn to recognize them, you hold an advantage that words alone could never give you. Most chase approval by speaking louder, by forcing attention, by trying to impress. But influence doesn't come from noise. It comes from awareness, from reading the unspoken and responding with precision. When you notice what others miss, you create a presence that feels almost magnetic. People won't always know why they feel drawn to you, but they will. Because when you can see them, truly see them, they feel safe, they feel understood, they feel valued without explanation. That is a rare experience, and rarity always holds power. This is why the most influential people are not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who listen the deepest. The strength of reading people is not only about what you gain from others, but about what you gain within yourself. You learn patience in moments of tension, because you no longer feel lost in uncertainty. You learn clarity in moments of doubt, because you trust the signals that reveal truth. You learn confidence in moments of choice, because you see through the distractions that trap others. This self-mastery builds a foundation that no one can shake. Your life transforms when you carry this awareness into every space you enter. In your conversations, you stop wondering what people really mean, you already know. In your relationships, you stop questioning if someone's affection is genuine. You feel the truth in their body, in their tone, in their silence. In your ambitions, you stop doubting whether you belong. You see clearly how your presence influences the room, and you claim that influence with quiet certainty. What makes this transformation unstoppable is that it compounds. The more you practice awareness, the stronger it becomes. Each time you trust a signal and it proves right, your confidence grows. Each time you read beyond words and discover truth, your intuition sharpens. And each time you act with that clarity, you step further into a version of yourself that is grounded, unshakable, and deeply respected. This is why the skill of reading people is more than technique. It is evolution. It shifts you from living on the surface to living with depth. It turns you from someone who reacts to life into someone who shapes it. And the more you live in that depth, the more you realize that true strength was never about being louder or stronger than others. It was about being clearer, calmer, and more attuned than anyone else in the room. Clarity of perception is the highest form of strength, because it allows you to move through life without being blinded by illusions. When you master the ability to read people, you gain access to truths hidden beneath the surface. And with those truths comes freedom. Freedom from the fear of being deceived. Freedom from the weight of uncertainty. Freedom from the constant doubt that erodes confidence. Most people live in reaction, stumbling from one situation to the next, hoping to understand what others truly mean. But you are no longer hoping. You are knowing. You are seeing. You are stepping into life with a vision that cuts through the fog. This vision does not make you harder. It makes you wiser. You begin to recognize when anger is just fear in disguise. You see that arrogance often masks insecurity. You realize that silence can speak louder than words, and that avoidance often reveals more than confrontation. These realizations change the way you respond. Instead of reacting blindly, you respond with intention. Instead of being pulled into other people's chaos, you anchor yourself in truth. That anchor is unshakable, and it gives you a calm that others feel instantly. People crave calm energy. They are drawn to those who do not overreact, who do not get lost in the noise, who do not crumble under uncertainty. When you read people with clarity, you become that presence. You become the person others turn to for guidance without even realizing why. They sense that you see them, that you understand them, and that you are not easily swayed by appearances. That sense of certainty is rare, and rare is always powerful. But awareness is more than just seeing what others feel. It is also a mirror. The more clearly you see others, the more clearly you see yourself. You notice your own patterns, your own emotions, your own signals. You become aware of when you are truly confident, and when you are simply pretending to be. You catch yourself when your words and body do not align. And with that awareness, you grow. You strip away the masks you once wore. You rise into authenticity, and authenticity is the most magnetic force you can ever carry. This alignment between how you see others and how you see yourself creates harmony. It removes the tension of pretending. It removes the fear of being exposed. It allows you to walk into any situation with honesty and strength, because you are no longer afraid of what is hidden, neither in others nor in yourself. That level of congruence radiates. People trust it. People feel safe around it. People follow it. The transformation here is profound. You are no longer simply learning to read people. You are mastering the art of human connection. You are stepping into a state of awareness where influence is natural, where confidence is unforced, and where respect is earned without demand. That is what true presence feels like. The presence of someone who cannot be deceived, who cannot be shaken, and who cannot be ignored. And once you carry that presence, it becomes impossible to go back to the ordinary way of living. The power of understanding people lies not in watching them from a distance, but in engaging with them from a place of awareness that few ever reach. When you truly see others, you no longer listen only to their words. You listen to the rhythm beneath them, the pauses that speak louder than the sentences, the shifts in tone that reveal more than the message itself. This depth of listening is not passive, it is active, sharp, and deeply human. It communicates something without you ever needing to say it. You are present, you are awake, and you are unshakable. That alone is enough to change the way people respond to you. What happens when you develop this strength is remarkable. Fear begins to lose its grip on you, because uncertainty no longer blinds you. You are not left wondering if someone's intentions are pure. You know. You are not questioning if their trust is real. You can see it in their body, in their eyes, in their energy. This clarity creates a calm within you that nothing external can disturb. That calm is your shield, and it is also your power. It allows you to walk into any situation with confidence, because while others are distracted by appearances, you are tuned into truth. This tuning is what transforms ordinary interaction into extraordinary connection. People feel the difference instantly. They feel that you are not rushing, not judging, not distracted. They feel that you are attuned. And because they feel understood without needing to explain, they open up, they trust, they follow. Influence built on this level of awareness is not forced, it is given freely. That is the secret few ever discover. The deepest influence comes not from pushing harder, but from perceiving deeper. With this awareness, you also free yourself from emotional traps that drain others. You are no longer easily offended, because you understand what lies behind the words. You are no longer quick to anger, because you can see that anger is often a mask for fear. You are no longer lost in doubt, because your clarity cuts through the fog of deception. This emotional freedom is a rare strength. It makes you harder to shake, harder to manipulate, harder to break. And because you stand unshaken, you naturally become a source of stability for those around you. That stability is magnetic. In a world full of noise, uncertainty, and false appearances, people will gravitate toward the one who embodies clarity and presence. They may not even realize why, but they will feel it. They will feel safer with you, more open with you, more connected to you. And that connection becomes the foundation of everything: trust in relationships, respect in leadership, influence in opportunities. What makes this transformation unstoppable is that it is not built on force. It is not about dominating others or bending them to your will. It is about aligning yourself with truth so fully that the truth itself works in your favor. When you see clearly, you move with certainty. When you move with certainty, you inspire confidence. And when you inspire confidence, doors open, people listen, and opportunities flow toward you. That is the quiet, undeniable power of someone who's mastered the art of reading people, without them ever realizing it. The more you embrace this power of perception, the more you realize it is not about watching others from the outside, but about tuning into the energy that flows between you and them. Every interaction is an exchange, and if you are attentive, you can feel whether that energy is open or closed, tense or relaxed, genuine or forced. This awareness goes beyond logic. It is instinct sharpened through practice, intuition made reliable through presence. When you allow yourself to notice these subtle signals, you move into a level of connection that feels almost effortless. You no longer try to force understanding. You simply receive it, because it is always being offered, if you are awake enough to see. This awakening changes the way you communicate. You begin to speak less and observe more. You listen not just to what is being said, but to what is being withheld. You notice when someone's words rise with enthusiasm, and when they fall with doubt. You notice when their gestures expand with confidence, and when they shrink with insecurity. This is the language of truth, and when you become fluent in it, you step into conversations with a quiet authority that doesn't need to be announced. People sense it, they respect it, they respond to it instinctively. True strength comes from this clarity, because clarity eliminates fear, the fear of being misled, the fear of misunderstanding, the fear of not knowing what others truly feel. When you see the truth beneath the surface, those fears dissolve. And when fear dissolves, courage takes its place. You stop holding back. You stop doubting yourself. You start moving with conviction, because you are no longer lost in uncertainty. You are anchored in reality. That kind of conviction is powerful beyond measure. This inner power radiates outward. People will notice your calm even in tense situations. They will notice your certainty even when others are confused. They will notice that you carry yourself differently, not because you are trying to impress, but because you no longer rely on appearances to guide you. You rely on truth, and truth is unshakable. That difference makes you stand out without effort, and it makes people lean toward you, trust you, and want to be led by you. But the most profound transformation is internal. When you read others with precision, you also begin to read yourself. You catch the subtle ways you hide your own doubts, the moments you shrink when you should expand, the times you pretend instead of align. This self-awareness is not a weakness, it is your greatest opportunity. Because the moment you see yourself clearly, you can correct, adjust, and grow without delay. You remove the masks you once wore, and in their place, you discover authenticity. Authenticity is magnetic, because it is rare, and when you embody it, you no longer chase connection. Connection chases you. The path of awareness is not about gaining power over people, but about aligning so deeply with truth that the world itself responds differently to you. You no longer live blind to what others reveal. You no longer ignore the signals that were always there. You step into life with vision, with presence, with clarity. And once you taste that clarity, You will never again settle for the fog that once kept you ordinary. When you begin to live with this depth of awareness, you stop being controlled by appearances and start being guided by essence. You see through the surface of conversations, the surface of expressions, the surface of emotions, and you connect directly with what is real. This ability creates a shift so powerful that others feel it without you saying a single word. They sense that you are not distracted, not caught in illusions, not trapped by assumptions. They sense your presence, and presence is the rarest form of influence in the world. With presence comes precision. You no longer scatter your attention, you focus it. And in that focus, you notice details most people never see. The slight hesitation in a handshake, the flicker of doubt in a smile, the heaviness hidden beneath laughter. These small details carry big truths, and when you catch them, you unlock understanding that others miss. That understanding makes your decisions sharper, your responses stronger, and your confidence unshakable. Because when you know what is real, you no longer waste energy on what is false. The power of this awareness lies not only in how it changes the way you read people, but in how it changes the way you carry yourself. You stop trying to prove yourself through words, because your energy already communicates strength. You stop competing for attention, because your presence commands it naturally. You stop fearing rejection, because you understand that rejection often reveals more about the other person than about you. This freedom is what makes you powerful. It removes the chains of doubt and places you in a state of calm certainty. And this certainty is not arrogance. It is not about being above others. It is about being aligned with truth. When you are aligned with truth, you do not need to force control, because clarity is control. You do not need to demand respect, because respect is drawn to authenticity. You do not need to chase influence, because influence flows naturally to those who embody presence. The greatest leaders, the most trusted voices, the people who move others at the deepest level, they all share this quality. They see clearly, they act with certainty, and they connect with authenticity. The deeper you cultivate this ability, the more you realize that every interaction is an opportunity to see, to understand, to connect. Even in silence you read, even in stillness you feel, even in conflict you find clarity, and that clarity becomes your strength in moments where others collapse under confusion. It makes you resilient when tested, patient when pressured, and powerful when challenged. This is why awareness is not a trick, not a technique, not a temporary advantage. It is a transformation of how you experience life. It gives you an edge that cannot be taken away, because it is not based on appearance or status. It is rooted in perception. And perception, once sharpened, cannot be dulled. You will begin to see with new eyes, hear with new ears, and understand with a depth that makes ordinary communication feel shallow in comparison. That is the path you are on, the path to becoming unshakable, undeniable, and unforgettable. Once you begin to move with this kind of clarity, you realize how much of your old life was shaped by illusions that never truly served you. The opinions of others, the noise of the crowd, the false urgency of distractions, these once had the power to pull you away from yourself. But now, with sharpened awareness, they lose their grip. You recognize that so much of what drains people comes from giving power to things that do not deserve it. And when you stop feeding those illusions, you free your energy for what truly matters. This freedom creates a stillness inside you, and from that stillness, strength is born. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the ability to remain unshaken by it. Strength is not the absence of doubt, but the refusal to be defined by it. Strength is not noise, not display, not aggression. It is calm, steady, and unmovable. It is the kind of strength that makes people trust you even before you speak, because they feel the stability radiating from within you. That stability is what separates those who merely survive from those who thrive. When storms come, many are thrown into panic, but those with presence and awareness stand grounded. They do not collapse under pressure. They expand. They do not shrink when challenged. They rise. And that rise is not sudden. It is built every single day, through the discipline of sharpening awareness, holding clarity, and refusing to let external chaos disturb internal order. The more you live this way, the more you realize that your power has never depended on circumstances. It has never depended on luck, timing, or external validation. Your power has always been within you, waiting for you to remove the layers of noise that concealed it. The world tries to convince you that you need something outside yourself to be complete. Status, possessions, approval. But once you strip away the illusions, you discover that you are already whole. From that wholeness, you stop chasing and start creating. Creation is the natural expression of someone who is aligned with truth. You begin to create strength in others by embodying it yourself. You begin to create peace in environments filled with chaos by carrying peace within you. You begin to create possibilities where others see dead ends, because clarity allows you to see doors that confusion keeps hidden. This is why presence is power. It does not just transform you, it transforms everyone and everything around you. People will notice, not because you demand attention, but because attention naturally gravitates toward authenticity. They will feel drawn to the stability you carry, because stability is rare. They will listen to your words more deeply, because your words are not empty, they are backed by presence. And without trying, you become an anchor for others, a force they lean on, a reminder of what it looks like to stand firm in a world that constantly wavers. And yet the most important transformation is not how others see you, but how you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself through the fractured lens of doubt and start seeing yourself through the clarity of truth. You realize that you were never lacking, never weak, never insignificant. You were only clouded, and once the clouds clear, the power of who you truly are shines without resistance. That is the unshakable state you are building, a state where no illusion can touch you, no storm can move you, and no obstacle can define you. When you begin to live from this unshakable state, a new kind of confidence rises within you. Not the fragile confidence that depends on achievement or comparison, but a quiet certainty that cannot be shaken by failure or loss. It is not loud, it is not boastful, it does not need to prove itself. It is the kind of confidence that allows you to walk into any space knowing that you belong there, not because someone gave you permission, but because your very presence is enough. You no longer question your worth, you embody it. You no longer ask whether you are ready, you act because readiness is not a condition. It is a decision. This decision to live fully aligned with who you are unlocks an energy that feels limitless. Where others feel drained, you feel fueled. Where others hesitate, you feel compelled. Where others shrink, you expand. You stop negotiating with hesitation and begin moving with decisiveness, because you understand that clarity is not found in endless thinking, but in courageous action. Each step taken from this place of presence strengthens you further, carving away doubt and replacing it with certainty. That certainty spills into every corner of your life. You approach challenges with calm determination rather than panic. You navigate conflict without losing your center. You pursue goals with unwavering focus, not because you are guaranteed success, but because you refuse to abandon the path you have chosen. Obstacles do not discourage you, they refine you. Criticism does not weaken you, it strengthens your resolve. Every force that once distracted or derailed you now becomes fuel for your growth. This is how transformation works. It does not arrive in one dramatic moment but builds through small, deliberate acts of alignment. Every time you choose presence over distraction, you grow stronger. Every time you choose courage over fear, you grow bolder. Every time you choose truth over illusion, you grow freer. These choices compound, shaping you into someone who does not merely talk about change but embodies it. The person you are becoming is not a dream, not a distant version of yourself. It is who you are right now, uncovered by the discipline of living with clarity. As this discipline deepens, life no longer feels like a series of random events. You begin to see patterns where before you saw chaos. You begin to feel purpose where before you felt confusion. You begin to recognize that every experience, painful or joyful, heavy or light, was shaping you, preparing you, strengthening you for this exact moment. You stop resisting what has been and start using it, turning every wound into wisdom, every setback into strategy, every scar into strength. And with this realization comes liberation. You no longer fear failure, because you understand it is not the end but the teacher. You no longer fear rejection, because you know your worth is not negotiable. You no longer fear uncertainty, because you are no longer searching for security outside yourself. You have found it within. This is the power of living unshakable. No matter what changes around you, nothing can shake the foundation you have built within you. That foundation allows you to rise above distractions, to silence the noise of doubt, and to carry yourself with a level of focus and determination that most will never know. You are no longer moved by appearances, you are moved by truth. You are no longer defined by outcomes, you are defined by alignment. And when you live this way, you become unstoppable, not because life becomes easy, but because you have become unbreakable. When you no longer question your foundation, a new way of living emerges. Decisions that once felt heavy become light. Choices that once paralyzed you now flow with ease. You stop overanalyzing, you stop second-guessing, you stop delaying, because you recognize that hesitation is simply the voice of doubt trying to pull you back into smallness. And you are no longer available for smallness. You are no longer interested in dimming yourself to make others comfortable or shrinking to fit into spaces that cannot hold the fullness of your potential. You choose expansion even when it intimidates you, even when it feels uncertain, because you know the price of contraction is far greater than the discomfort of growth. Growth becomes your natural state. Instead of fearing change, you crave it. Instead of resisting challenges, you welcome them. You understand that every challenge is a mirror reflecting the areas where you are ready to evolve. And rather than turning away, you look straight into that reflection and claim the growth that belongs to you. Fear loses its grip on you, because you stop interpreting it as a warning and start seeing it as a signal. Fear simply shows you where freedom lives. It reveals the doorways you have yet to walk through. It points toward the exact areas of your life where courage is required. And when you understand this, you stop avoiding fear. You lean into it, because you know what lies on the other side is expansion. With each act of courage, you deepen your trust in yourself. Trust becomes the anchor that steadies you in every storm. You no longer wait for conditions to be perfect, because you trust your ability to handle whatever arises. You no longer need the reassurance of others, because you trust your own voice. You no longer collapse under the weight of uncertainty, because you trust the strength you've built. This self-trust is not arrogance. It is not ego. It is alignment. It is the natural result of consistently showing up for yourself, of proving through action that you can be relied on, even when everything around you feels unsteady. And from this trust comes freedom. Freedom from the opinions that once ruled you. Freedom from the fears that once held you hostage. Freedom from the doubts that once chained you to hesitation. You no longer feel the need to live according to the script others wrote for you, because you've written your own. You've stepped into authorship of your life, and every day you continue to write a story that is aligned with who you are becoming, not who you once were. This is not about perfection, it is about direction. Every step, no matter how small, is proof that you are choosing to move forward. When you live this way, you radiate something that cannot be faked. People feel it before you speak a word. They sense the power of someone who has chosen alignment over approval, courage over fear, presence over distraction. You inspire without trying, because authenticity is magnetic, and the deeper you walk this path, the clearer it becomes that the life you desire is not something you chase, it is something you create from within. You have become the source, not the seeker. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer waiting for the right time. You are no longer waiting for guarantees. You have realized that the only moment that matters, the only moment that will ever matter, is the one you are living right now. And in that realization you are free. When you step fully into this level of awareness, you begin to understand the subtle ways people reveal their true selves, without even realizing it. Every glance, every posture, every hesitation carries meaning. You notice the micro shifts in energy, the flickers of emotion that escape when someone thinks no one is watching. Most people ignore these signals, dismiss them as insignificant, or fail to see them altogether, but you see them, you recognize them. You understand that these tiny revelations are the keys to authentic understanding, and you learn to interpret them with precision. This skill is not about manipulation or control, it is about insight and connection. It is about seeing beyond the mask, beyond the rehearsed words, beyond the facades people wear to protect themselves. It is about perceiving the vulnerability, the fears, the desires that drive behavior. When you can do this, you communicate on a level that words cannot reach. People feel understood without you having to say anything. They feel seen without you having to spotlight them. This is a rare form of influence, because influence that is invisible is the most powerful. It changes interactions without forcing change. The advantage of seeing people clearly is that it transforms your response to life itself. You no longer react out of confusion or frustration. You no longer get caught off guard by deception or miscommunication. You no longer allow uncertainty to paralyze your decisions. Instead, you move with calm intention, guided by signals that reveal the truth beneath appearances. Your decisions become sharper, your judgments wiser, and your presence more commanding. This clarity is magnetic, because people intuitively recognize it. They are drawn to someone who navigates life with honesty, precision, and insight. With this awareness comes freedom, the freedom to choose your reactions, the freedom to act without hesitation, the freedom to walk through life anchored in truth rather than swayed by illusion. When you no longer rely on assumptions or appearances, you free your mind to see the possibilities that others miss. You free your energy to focus on what truly matters. You free yourself from the mental noise that keeps ordinary people trapped in cycles of doubt and fear. Every choice becomes empowered, because you are no longer responding to what is false, you are responding to what is real. This freedom builds inner strength that cannot be taken from you. It creates a foundation that is unshakable, because it is built on understanding rather than circumstance. You begin to trust your instincts because they are honed through observation and awareness. You begin to trust your judgment because it is informed by truth rather than speculation. You begin to trust your presence because it carries the weight of authenticity and clarity. This trust is not blind. It is earned through disciplined awareness, and it becomes your greatest asset in every interaction, every decision, and every challenge. The transformation here is profound. You move through life differently. You listen differently. You see differently. You act differently. And as this shift takes hold, you realize that life is no longer about chasing validation, approval, or certainty from others. Life becomes about mastery of yourself, your perception, and your ability to navigate reality with unshakable clarity. This mastery is not learned overnight. It is cultivated, refined, and embodied through practice. And once you embody it, you carry a presence that commands respect, fosters trust, and opens doors that once seemed unreachable. This is the quiet, undeniable power of understanding people without them knowing. It is not flashy. It is not loud. It is deep, precise, and profoundly transformative. And when you live from this power, you are no longer a passive participant in life. You are a force that moves with intention, clarity, and purpose, shaping the world around you while remaining anchored in the truth of who you are. The deeper you go into this level of awareness, the more you realize that life is a series of signals waiting to be interpreted. Every interaction, every glance, every hesitation, every word carries information. Most people walk through life oblivious to these signals, reacting blindly to what is visible on the surface. But when you learn to read beneath the surface, you gain insight that is invisible, yet undeniable. You begin to anticipate reactions, understand motivations, and navigate complexities with a calm certainty that others can only envy. This is not about manipulation, it is about perception, and perception is the foundation of mastery. When you see people clearly, you stop being moved by appearances. You stop being distracted by the loud, the dramatic, the flashy. You start noticing what is subtle, what is consistent, what is real. A slight shift in posture, a change in tone, a pause before a response. These small cues speak volumes. And when you tune into them, you gain an edge that transforms the way you interact with the world. Decisions become precise, responses become intentional, and your presence becomes magnetic because people sense that you are fully aware, fully grounded, fully present. This awareness changes your relationship with fear. Fear no longer controls you, because you see the truth behind it. You understand that fear is often a signal, not a barrier. It points to areas where growth is possible, where courage is required, where transformation waits. You stop avoiding discomfort and start moving toward it with purpose, because you know that real strength is built not in ease, but in facing what challenges you. And as you do, every act of courage reinforces your confidence, sharpens your intuition, and expands your capacity to understand others at a level few ever reach. Clarity also changes the way you respond to conflict. When tension arises, you no longer react impulsively. You observe, you listen, you assess, and you respond from a place of alignment rather than reaction. This is power that is subtle yet undeniable. People feel it immediately. They recognize that your calm is not weakness, but control. They sense that you are not swayed by appearances or provoked by noise. They recognize that your presence carries authority because it is grounded in understanding rather than assumption. Your influence grows naturally because you operate from this foundation. You do not need to assert dominance, demand attention, or force respect. It comes to you effortlessly because presence, clarity, and understanding are inherently magnetic. Others are drawn to you, trust you, and respond to you because they feel seen, understood, and acknowledged at a level that goes beyond words. This influence is invisible yet profound, shaping outcomes, fostering trust, and opening doors that were previously hidden. Ultimately, This mastery transforms more than your interactions. It transforms your life. You are no longer a passive participant, reacting to events as they unfold. You are awake, engaged, and empowered. Every decision, every response, every movement is informed by awareness. You no longer chase validation, certainty, or approval from outside yourself, because you have cultivated a presence, a strength, and a clarity that cannot be shaken. You have become the force in your own life, shaping your reality with precision, courage, and insight, and in doing so, you inspire others to rise alongside you without ever needing to say a word. Here's a detailed, emotionally powerful script outline for your faceless YouTube motivational video, titled 9 Signs You Should Cut Ties, Even with Family or Friends, structured into 13 equal 500-word sections. Section 1, The Hidden Cost of Toxic Connections, open with a thought-provoking question. What if the people you trust the most are silently holding you back? Establish emotional context about how family and friends shape our energy, self-worth, and mindset. Highlight the unseen toll of toxic relationships, stress, self-doubt, and drained energy. Promise the viewer clarity and freedom if they recognize the warning signs. Emphasize that cutting ties isn't betrayal. It's self-preservation, a courageous step toward growth and mental peace. Build urgency. Staying blind to toxicity keeps you trapped in invisible chains. Section 2, Sign 1. Constant negativity and criticism. Introduce the first sign, relentless negativity. Explain how persistent criticism and judgment erode confidence and create self-doubt. Highlight the psychological impact, chronic stress, anxiety, and loss of identity. Encourage the audience to notice patterns, not isolated incidents. Emphasize emotional rewards of cutting ties, freedom from constant critique, restored self-esteem, and the ability to focus on personal growth. Motivate the audience to trust their perception of energy and emotional resonance. Section 3, Sign 2, Emotional Manipulation and Control. Expose manipulation tactics, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, and controlling behavior. Discuss how manipulators erode your autonomy and create dependency. Use psychological triggers to emphasize the harm, loss of agency, emotional exhaustion, and fear of confrontation. Offer the reward of reclaiming control, autonomy, self-confidence, and inner peace. Reinforce that it is healthy, not selfish, to remove toxic influences that seek to dominate your mind and choices. Section 4, Sign 3. Lack of respect for boundaries. Explore the critical role of boundaries in healthy relationships. Show how constant boundary violations signal disrespect and disregard for your needs. Explain the emotional consequences, resentment, stress, and frustration. Highlight the transformative power of cutting ties with those who disregard your limits. Reclaiming personal space, strengthening self-respect, and building relationships that honor your values. Reinforce empowerment through personal agency. Section 5, Sign 4, Energy Drain Without Support. Identify relationships that drain energy while giving nothing in return. Highlight the psychological cost, burnout, diminished motivation, and emotional depletion. Contrast with the reward of removing energy vampires, revitalized focus, emotional renewal, and freedom to invest in mutually supportive relationships. Emphasize that energy is finite and protecting it is an act of self-love. Section 6, Sign 5, Constant Drama and Chaos. Analyze relationships dominated by repeated conflict, manipulation, or chaos. Explain the emotional and mental toll, anxiety, distraction, and impaired decision-making. Motivate viewers to recognize their own right to calm and peace. Promise the reward, mental clarity, stability, and a life free from unnecessary turmoil. Encourage discerning connection over habitual attachment. Section 7, Sign 6, Feeling unsafe or unsupported. Highlight the critical importance of safety in relationships. Describe signs of emotional or verbal abuse, betrayal, or consistent lack of empathy. Trigger emotional recognition, feeling isolated, undervalued, or unsafe in your own circle. Emphasize the reward of cutting ties, reclaiming emotional security, self-trust, and the freedom to build supportive networks. Section 8, Sign 7, Repeated broken promises and unreliability. Focus on people who fail to honor commitments consistently. Highlight the psychological impact, frustration, disappointment, and erosion of trust. Discuss how cutting ties restores predictability, accountability, and faith in relationships. Reinforce that loyalty is reciprocal, Enduring broken promises is a choice, not a requirement. Section 9. Sign 8. Feeling constantly drained of joy or motivation. Explore the subtle signs of joy-sapping relationships. Explain how constant exposure to pessimism, judgment, or criticism undermines mental health and life goals. Emphasize the emotional reward of removal, renewed happiness, motivation, and the ability to thrive without emotional sabotage. Section 10. Sign 9. You can't be yourself around them. Examine the profound cost of suppressing authenticity. Show how pretending or hiding aspects of yourself leads to anxiety, self-doubt, and disconnection. Emphasize the freedom and empowerment that comes from cutting ties, living authentically, attracting genuine relationships, and embracing personal growth fully. Section 11. The courage to cut ties. Focus on the emotional challenge of leaving toxic relationships. Address guilt, fear, and societal pressure. Highlight psychological triggers. Growth requires discomfort, liberation requires tough decisions, and self-preservation is an act of courage. Offer a motivational push. Courage is magnetic. It draws better relationships, respect, and personal freedom. Section 12. Healing and reclaiming your life. Guide the audience through the emotional aftermath, grief, relief, and self-reflection. Emphasize rebuilding boundaries, rediscovering self-worth, and investing energy in supportive, aligned connections. Highlight the mental and emotional benefits, clarity, joy, resilience, and purpose-driven living. Section 13. Living free and empowered. Conclude by inspiring action and transformation. Encourage viewers to trust their instincts, honor their boundaries, and prioritize their mental and emotional health. Reaffirm that cutting ties, even with family or friends, is a brave act of self-love and growth. Leave them with a powerful call to embrace freedom, authenticity, and relationships that elevate rather than diminish them. If you want, I can now turn this outline into the first full 500 to 600 word script section, written ready for a faceless motivational video voiceover. Do you want me to do that next? Have you ever felt exhausted around the people you love the most? Have you noticed that instead of feeling supported, you leave conversations feeling small, drained, or anxious? The truth is, not everyone who calls themselves family or friend truly has your best interests at heart. Sometimes, the very people we expect to uplift us are quietly holding us back, weighing us down, and dimming our light without ever realizing it. And the hardest part is that this isn't obvious at first. It seeps into your life slowly, unnoticed, until one day you wake up and realize that the weight has become unbearable. The reality is that relationships are supposed to be nourishing. They should make you feel stronger, calmer, and more yourself. They should give you energy, not take it. But when someone consistently leaves you feeling uncertain, anxious, or less than, it is not your fault. You were never meant to carry the burden of another person's toxicity, nor should you sacrifice your peace for the sake of loyalty alone. It takes courage to acknowledge this truth, because society tells us that family and friends must always be endured, regardless of the cost. But enduring the wrong people silently steals more than your energy. It steals your confidence, your joy, and your ability to grow.